Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, whenever it is for you. I'm Peter Alexievich, and this is the Live at 5 from Kyiv, this major European capital currently under siege. For me, it is just past midnight on Thursday, the 20th of February, 2025, which makes this the news for Wednesday, February 19th, day 1092 of Vladimir Putin's war of aggression against the people of Ukraine. I see the peeps are coming in. Gerbils, where you been, pal? Hey, Bernard. Hey, Robert Chapman. Hey, Gene. Hey, Nicola. Hey, PH. PH, did you see my response to your comment today? I thought that was funny. Hey, Gary, Thomas, Debbie. How's everybody doing? Hey, Anna Lotta. Hey, G2. Howdy. Marha. Grotland. Germany's in the house. Pugga Mahone. Oh, hi, everybody. Hey, Nightshade. So, ladies and gentlemen and other non-binary folks, how do you do? I'm Peter Alexievich, and this is the Live at 5 from Kyiv. And Thomas Cochran sums it up pretty beautifully there. Another mad day from Trump. Mad in the British sense of that term, right? Meaning insane or delulu. It is outrageous. The nonsense to have the American president stand at the podium and repeat the Russian lies of a Russian disinformation silo is obscene. And I cannot begin to tell you what it is doing to the Ukrainian people. Now, the Ukrainians, this is a very healthy society in many, many ways. One of the ways that it is healthy is that there is a huge disparity of opinion. And there are probably as many opinions about Donald Trump's comments as there are Ukrainians. Hey, Darlene. Hey, Bobby. But for those who are not simply heartbroken and in despair, right, Thomas, me too. Thank you, Nazar. Hey, super user. For those who are not simply heartbroken and despairing, the overall kind of sensibility is, look, we love the United States. Thank God for the United States and the help that we have gotten up until now. But Donald Trump is a Russian asset who is going to sell us out. And we have to be prepared to move forward without the United States because Trump has compromised it. Trump is the enemy of the world, and he is making the United States the enemy of the world. He is, hold on for 1 second. Let me just get rid of this troll who's got an avatar of a czar. I mean, if that doesn't tell you who they are, you've got to be kidding me. Trump is the enemy of everyone. The only friend Trump has is himself. I don't understand how they voted for Trump either, but I'm starting to, I think. I think I am. And for the guys on the Patreon who are helping me put it all together, particularly Veronica, who has come through with tremendous material for me, which I appreciate. We're working on trying to explain that to the world. At any rate, I did see Roger Wicker's comments today. Roger Wicker is a senator. He's a Republican senator, and he is the head of the Senate Armed Services Committee. Now, for those of you who don't know American politics, the Senate is the most powerful legislative body in the United States. The Senate Armed Services Committee is one of the most powerful committees in the United States, and Roger Wicker, as the head of that committee, is one of the most powerful politicians in the United States. And I will be very happy to quote Senator Wicker right now, and I hope that it gives all of us some hope. It was a hopeful message. Hey, Joe. Hey, Altered Carbon. Hey, Laddie. It was a very hopeful message. Senator Wicker said, when asked whether or not Putin could be trusted, quote, "No, Putin is a war criminal who should be in jail for life, if not executed." Now, that to me is exactly the response that any American who's paying attention to what's happening in the world with Russia right now should have. Putin is a terrorist and a war criminal, and every favor that Trump does for him is an obscenity. It is a violation of the most basic principles that we are supposed to stand for as an American. It is a betrayal of our allies and our friends around the world who have looked to us and counted on us for so long. And now they know they can't. As long as Trump is in charge, nobody will trust anything that the United States says or does. And neither should they, because Trump cannot be trusted. Wow. Hey, look at this comment down here. Hey, Peter, love your vids. I'll be in Kyiv Tuesday afternoon to join the AFU. So, monkey nuts. Where are you coming from? Are you coming to join the International Legion? No, nobody should trust Donald Trump. Absolutely nobody should trust Donald Trump. He's made it clear that he cannot be trusted. His comments today on Truth Social were so wildly antithetical to the truth that it's difficult to know where to begin with them. I mean, it's just insane. And yeah, Bobby, you hit it on the head. 80 years of world order destroyed in 3 weeks. Well, it's a little bit longer that he's in there, right? We're now on day 39 of the subversion of the U.S. federal system by malign foreign powers in the person of Donald Trump. Thomas, there are a number of ways, constitutional methods for removing the president. The one that comes to mind right off the bat that could easily be executed is if you could get his cabinet to turn against him and invoke the 26th Amendment and say that he is unfit for duty. The problem, though, becomes then, who do we get in return? What is with this one hair? Sorry. What do we get in return then? We get J.D. Vance? J.D. Vance, who today warned Ukraine to not dare say bad things about Donald Trump or they'll regret it. Motherfucker, we are not all ass-kissing sycophants who think that Donald Trump is the end-all, be-all, the orange tin god, right? He is a traitor, Eli. He is a traitor. Absolutely he is. So let's talk a little bit about the news and what's going on. Now, guys, we are under an air alert, and air defense has been active. So you may hear some noise because of the neighbors in the background. The neighbors sent us 167 attack drones last night. 106 of them were shot down. 56 were neutralized with active countermeasures. It was a 97% interception rate. Hold on, let me just edit this person out of our lives. There you go. Hysterical to see a Russian troll accusing us of inciting violence. Ridiculous. Hey, Peter. So the 26th Amendment would be the first way I would want to get rid of Donald Trump. Easy peasy. The problem is that his cabinet is all hand-picked to not do that. They are picked for loyalty, right? So that's a problem. Now, Ukraine, for its part, even though now last night the drones hit Odessa and hit Odessa bad, on the very same day that Sergei Lavrov, Kremlin mouthpiece and chief liar for the Russian Federation, said in an interview that Russia does not attack civilian infrastructure in Ukraine. The very same day he told that bold-faced, obvious lie, after 80% of the thermal power plants in Ukraine have been destroyed, not damaged, but destroyed by the Russians. The Russians sent drones at Odessa and plunged 160,000 residents of Odessa into darkness. No light, no heat, no water. In the middle of winter, right? It is ridiculous, the lies that these people tell and the lies that their trolls repeat here in public, like the lie that Ukraine has already lost. We all know who has already lost. It is Russia. Russia has lost. Not a single goal, as stated by Russia, for this offensive has come to bear. They have lost everything. And they are in the process of imploding their economy rather than end this war. Do I think Putin has something on Trump? Hell yeah, I do. Absolutely, I do. There's no doubt that Donald Trump is now and has always been a Russian asset. No doubt at all. You know, when I was living in Manhattan in the early 90s, the biggest joke in town was Donald Trump. He was and remains the butt of jokes. He's a cheap snake oil salesman, a two-bit con artist who stole from a charity for cancer that he created. I mean, come on. How anybody could be foolish enough to buy into the lies that he tells is beyond me. Absolutely beyond me. You know, you have to, I don't know. We'll talk about Trump later. For right now, let's take a look at the news. For their part, the Ukrainians are not standing still. Last night, 1,000 kilometers from Ukraine, the Cezanne oil refinery was hit. This refinery processes 9 million tons of oil a year. It's responsible for producing fully 3% of Russia's refined oil products. Now, according to the governor there was no damage to the facility. That seems impossible looking at the video. Now, I'm not saying that the damage, took the refinery out. That's a hard thing to do. But you can't tell me that there wasn't damage when you have flames 100 meters high in 3 different locations on the facility of the oil refinery. Please, there's damage. This comes on the heels of a strike against the Ilsky refinery yesterday, where, according to Andrei Kovalenko from the Ukrainian Center for Countering Disinformation, 7 drones hit the refinery and the pumping station along the Caspian Consortium pipeline. And that pipeline is now shut down, which means that no Kazakh oil is flowing to the Black Sea for export. There was some tremendous video emerged today of an explosion at the oil fields in Tyumen, Russia. Now, we don't yet know why that explosion happened. There were no reports of drones in the area, and the Ukrainians have never hit oil fields before. They hit refineries, they hit oil pipelines, they hit LNG facilities, but never have they hit an oil field to the best of my knowledge. So is this a new tactic from Kyiv, or are what we seeing the long-term corrosive effects of not having access to Western expertise? It's now 3 years since all of the Western oil companies, ExxonMobil, Shell, all the big names, pulled out of Russia and cut their losses. There's been no access to those resources since that time. Is it possible? Because you know how the Russians are, right? They just want to squeeze every dime out of whatever resource they have without ever putting any money back in. And you can't do that with oil infrastructure near the Arctic Circle. You're going to have to spend some money to maintain it. And it doesn't look like that's happening. So if they're not maintaining it, is what we saw today likely an industrial accident from lack of maintenance and expertise, and therefore very likely to happen again. Very likely to happen again, if that's what it was, right? Now, we also got video today of the first North Korean artillery piece, the Koksan self-propelled gun, being destroyed on the battlefield. That's the first of, we believe, 150 of these guns that North Korea sold to Russia. Following the first emergency European Council meeting in France on Tuesday, the French are planning another emergency meeting to include everybody that wasn't at the first meeting. They have invited the Canadians, all the Baltic states, the Belgians, Romania, Czech Republic, Norway, Greece, Finland, Sweden are all invited to attend. Now, what will come out of this meeting is unclear. But according to Annalena Baerbock, after Tuesday's meeting, the EU appears to be poised to fund the war in Ukraine without the United States. They are talking about pledging, and I have to correct myself because I believe last night I said $700 billion. That is wrong. It's 700 billion euros, which is about 30% more money. Huge, huge. They're getting ready. They're already appropriating a 6 billion euro package for Ukraine, which may grow to be 10 billion euros. A 10 billion euro infusion of weapons right now, which is said to include 1.5 million artillery rounds, air defense, military equipment. Additionally, they have imposed a fresh round of sanctions on the Russians. This is the 16th sanctions package and includes sanctions against the aluminum industry, which currently provides Europe with about 8% of its aluminum. 13 new banks, dozens of individuals, and 73 more shadow tankers of the shadow fleet, right? That fleet of rust buckets that Russia maintains to try to evade sanctions. Now, Marco Rubio, get ready, just sit down. If you're standing up, sit down before I have to say these disgusting things out loud. But Marco Rubio is saying that the U.S. is ready to lift sanctions against Russia if they can strike a deal. Now, thank God the lifting of sanctions is still contingent on a deal. But we don't know how long that will last. Rubio went on to say that America must seize this opportunity to partner with Russia on a new set of geopolitical and economic priorities. I'm sorry. The United States, the largest economy in the world, must seize the opportunity to partner with a murderous genocidal terrorist whose sole goal is to tear down the rules-based order of the post-World War II era. It is insanity. Insanity of the first order. That was nothing compared to what Trump had to say. Are you ready for this? After Trump blamed the war in Ukraine on Ukraine and our European allies, he went on to say, regarding the land that Russia occupies, Russia fought for that land in Ukraine, and they lost a lot of soldiers. So Russia should be able to keep it. That's like saying to bin Laden, hey, that 26 acres of downtown Manhattan should belong to you. That's the same fucking thing. It's outrageous. People who come in here like this Charles, whoever, whatever, and just blatantly say lies, you will be excused. It is just that simple. It is outrageous, Jerry. It is absolutely outrageous. He's literally mouthing, parroting Russian propaganda and talking points. It's obscene. What else is going on here? I regret to report that Dmytro Lubinets, the Ukrainian ombudsman, has filed paperwork with the Prosecutor General's office with documentation of the execution of 3 more unarmed Ukrainian POWs. So that is still going on. Regarding the exclusion of Europe from the negotiations in Saudi Arabia, Armin Peppinger, the Rheinmetall CEO who was targeted for assassination by Russia last year, said that the EU is at the kids' table, right? Which was a solid assessment, I think, of how the United States is treating our best allies, our longest running allies. It's outrageous. On the front line, there's been no movement in Kursk. The Russians advanced a little bit west of Kharkov, but the Ukrainians seized Russian positions around Pokrovsk. Now look, I don't know. Can you guys hear that in here? Hey, Paul, thanks for the subscription. Anyway, air defense is active in Kyiv right now. Now, look, I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, and I don't want to overstate this. And everybody here knows I am not a military person. I am no expert. But I watch the war very closely. And it does seem as though the tide may be turning in Ukraine's favor. The Russian advance has slowed to nothing. They're not taking square kilometers of territory every day anymore. They're lucky if they take a few hundred square meters a day. Furthermore, we're seeing increased activity where Russian column after column is just being destroyed before they can even get to the zero line. Additionally, those columns are less and less columns of armored vehicles and more dirt bikes, motorcycles, bicycles, e-scooters. Like, it's ridiculous. Mark Charles, that is the technical term, right? Culmination. The force has culminated. It is no longer able to advance. It's no longer able to execute its mission. I can't say that the Russian forces around Pokrovsk are culminating. However, we know that they're getting the shit kicked out of them in Kursk. 78,000 Russians went into Kursk plus 12,000 Ukrainians. I'm sorry, 12,000 North Koreans. And the losses in Kursk between December and January were in excess of 40,000. That's half of everybody that went in there. It's insane. It's literally insane. So, okay, guys, that's my top line news for tonight. We'll go to open Q&A now, and I'll try to answer some of these questions that are coming in. Let me just take a moment and thank Chris Carter. Chris has been a longtime supporter of this channel, and I'm deeply grateful for all his support, and he is the sponsor of tonight's live. I also want to mention, if you do not have a free Patreon account, I encourage you to get one. There's more and more stuff I'm publishing on Patreon that's not being published anywhere else. And it's you might be interested. If you like the stuff I do here on TikTok, I think the stuff that we're doing together over on the Patreon, you will find very interesting. Okay. So guys, questions, comments. I know I saw a lot of questions scroll past when I was doing the news. What about the latest Russian push in Kursk salient? It's not getting anywhere, Dawn. The last group that came in, frankly put, there were no survivors. That was about 150 Russians and mixed North Koreans. Where did Trump get 4% from? He pulled it out of his ass like he always does. He has no interest in facts. Just like he pulled the 350 billion out of his ass, the 200 billion Europe out of his ass. He just makes this shit up. Trump is absolutely a traitor. I want Putin and Trump to lose the war too. Pardon me. I'm feeling much better this week, but I'm still a little congested. So Bren Ryan there says 176 billion was approved for Ukraine, right? And it's something like that. According to the Ukraine Oversight webpage, if you go to ukraineoversight.gov, you can see where every penny has gone. For Trump to stand up there and say, I've never seen an accounting of it. I don't know where all this money goes. Zelensky himself said half of it is missing. It's just bullshit of the worst sort, because we have transparency in our democracy and every dime is accounted for on ukraineoversight.gov. I encourage you to visit it. Now, according to that, we sent the Ukrainians 86.3 billion, mostly in weapons, a little bit of cash. And that's all accounted for. There's no missing money. Tens of billions of the money that Congress approved as part of Ukraine aid was never intended for Ukraine. 90 billion of the 100 billion difference went back into American defense industry to rebuild our stockpiles of weapons that we sent to Ukraine. Dig it? So right off the bat, you're up to 176 billion of the 183.6 billion, I think, that was approved. The rest of it is pretty much money that we sent to partners or that's been unallocated at this time. So it is nonsense to say that there is any money missing. 90 billion of it was for replacement stocks, to replace the artillery shells we sent, to replace the Javelins we sent to replace the, what are they, AT-4 anti-tanks that we sent. That kind of thing. Yes, I agree with Nightshade. Anybody who wants to donate funds to Ukraine, go to united24.gov.ua. Ukraine has proven their incredible courage, and Trump has proven his disgusting treachery. I couldn't agree more. He may be jealous that Zelensky has a higher approval rating. It doesn't, with him, it wouldn't matter. Because he wouldn't believe it. He would just deny the reality of it. He did. He repeated the Russian lie that Ukraine started this war. Outrageous. I mean, it's delusional. Grotland, at this time, our best hope are the Europeans. The Europeans are talking about a $700 billion package for Ukraine to replace the loss of aid from the United States. Trump is a joke. The problem is he sits in the most powerful chair in the world. Hey, Wanpa. Yeah, it's going to be a long night. I can hear the gun. I can hear them going now. You're not wrong, Russell. There's some cahoots with Putin and Trump. There's no doubt about it. Why do Trump believe what Putin says? He doesn't believe it. Trump doesn't believe in anything that doesn't put money in his own pocket. The Republicans are cowards. They're cowards and they're sellouts and they're fascists. There's no two. I mean, not all of them, but enough of them to have compromised the entire party. Have you just gotten used to the sirens? Yes. You have to. You have to. I haven't just gotten used to the sirens. I've gotten used to the sounds of exploding drones and anti-aircraft guns, because that's going on right now. And so is this live, as if it's not. Because if you stopped your life every time it happened, you would never leave the basement. Nobody can live that way. So you just have to go on. You just have to go on. Yep, Wanpa, who is my buddy here in Kyiv, he reiterates what I'm saying there. Where did that quote go, Wanpa? Jeez Louise. I just lost your quote. But he said the same thing, that you just have to get used to it. Hey, Flip. Flip, they did make a deal in Saudi Arabia, but they're not going to get it. Huh. This guy thinks that because I'm the minority, I've lost. That's not the way things work in the United States. It's definitely not the way things work in the United States. Shark, it's a great question, and I'm working on getting the answer. No, Phils, Americans are not regretting voting for Trump. That's the problem. You know, every Yahtzee that was convicted at Nuremberg went to the gallows shouting that they were right and it's the world that's wrong. The maggots are the same way. The diehard cultists that believe in the orange turd are never going to change their minds. No matter what facts are presented to them, no matter what comes down the pike, they're never going to change their minds. Oh, altered carbon. Mango Man is definitely abandoning Ukraine. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. We cannot count on him for anything. This thing about him saying Zelensky is losing popularity is having exactly the opposite effect here. Like, seriously, I know a lot of anti-Zelensky people, a lot of people who want Zelensky to run, who want elections to happen. And they are all falling in line behind Zelensky. It's like when somebody picks on your little brother. Like, you can beat the shit out of your little brother all you want, but somebody else does it. Fuck that, right? You're going to war. It's the same thing. Trump picking on Zelensky at this time is galvanizing the Ukrainian people behind him. He's gone up in the polls from a 52 to 57% approval rating. And there are pollsters here who are saying it's going to go higher. Ginger, there can be no agreements about Ukraine without Ukraine. So any deal that these guys come to without Ukraine, it is going to be meaningless. Was there a tariff on Trump so Putin had to pay an extra 25% for him? I didn't vote for him either. 49.9% of Americans did not vote, of those who voted, did not vote for him. He won by the slimmest of margins and claims he has a massive win and a mandate. This is nonsense. Ukraine must be at the table. No ifs, ands, or buts, chaos. I agree. This notion of, because of Trump, we can never trust the USA again, is a Russian talking point. Think of all the Americans that are in Ukraine right now, not like me, just shouting into the void of the internet, but all the Americans that are in Ukraine on the ground, taking up arms, training soldiers, dedicating their lives to the victory. All those folks at home, like Blue Ariel Silk, like Tony, Tony's from Finland, forget him. But Blue Ariel Silk, Spirit of Ukraine, that are doing what they can on the ground to assist the people of Ukraine. It's nonsense to say we'll never trust America again. And in fact, when I talk to Ukrainians here, I don't hear that. What I hear from the Ukrainians here is, Pete, we love America. We are grateful for everything America has done. But Trump is killing us. Trump is killing us. So these extremist views are very much Russian propaganda. Don't buy into it. Ukraine had protests in parliament, right? That's the sign of a healthy democracy. Try that shit in Russia. You'll find your back up against a wall real fucking fast. Can NATO give Ukraine security if America can't? It's a great question. It's a great question, and I don't have an easy answer to that. Thanks, Altered Carbon. Thank you. Trump is the problem, CyberDoc. You are right. And Medical 420, you are correct when you say that Americans must eject Trump and then purge the government of all these Russian assets, like J.D. Vance, Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth. Alan Cummings there is screaming about his tax dollars as if he were an American, not a troll sitting in St. Petersburg, paid to be here. That, of course, is nonsense. When I think of the weapons that we sent, like the ATACMS that the Ukrainians were so grateful to have, right? The production dates on those were as far back as 86, 87, 88. Reagan paid for them. It would have cost us tens of millions of dollars to decommission them. And instead, we put them to work doing what Reagan intended them to do, unaliving Russians. Hungary did not veto the EU sanctions. The package passed. Hello from Finland. Oh my God, Finland. I got to tell you, I was so embarrassed to be an American today. There's a video going around TikTok of some bimbo American slut talking about how Finland doesn't really exist. It's just an invention of Japan to hide their territorial fishing waters. Like literally, she said the words, "Really, did you ever meet anyone from Finland? There are no people there." Well, what about the Finnish people? Oh, they're actually all Swedes. Like, it's so embarrassing to be an American these days. Wilco, where are the good guys to evict Trump? I mean, did you see that pathetic thing at the Department of Education? You had 100 Democrats, politicians and their staffs, who couldn't get into the building because one piece of shit Yahtzee was standing in front of the door and told them they couldn't go in. You have a mob of 100 people who can't get around one piece of shit? Are you fucking kidding me? How weak are the Democrats? No one should ever trust Trump in the first place, let alone again. Yeah, the EU is emerging as a new superpower, right? They get themselves an army, which it looks like they may be doing. The EU gets themselves an army. They will be a force in the world. Hey, Samso. The orange baboon is off his meds. There's an understatement. Ben Hodges is a great example of a real American who understands our values, the values of democracy, that all men are created equal and entitled to equal protection under the law, that people should have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You can't post. Why? I don't know. It seems like you're posting. Do you think there's anything Trump can do that will make the Republicans in office turn against him? It could be that his open support of Putin might be enough. Right now, there's a thread on Reddit of Republicans bitching about how the United States is aligning itself with Russia, our traditional enemy. So I don't know. Oh, Saudi Arabia is definitely in on this. I mean, come on. Russia, Saudi Arabia, and the United States, the three largest producers by a long shot of oil on the planet. Yeah, no conspiracy there. Osovayakim? I don't know what that is. Common Sense, would you DM me that, please? I know Operation Paperclip. I'm doing research into that now. No, nobody should bring in China. That's the worst thing you can do. I can't help you with the TikTok algorithm, Bren. Oh, the Russia. Oh, okay, got it. That's good enough. That explains it. That is a great question, and I'm working on an answer to that question. Have you heard anything on Kursk? Only that it's stable. I don't know who Patek is. Do you mean Patel? You mean Cash Patel? Oh my God. These fucking people. I don't know, pal. Yeah, right, Willie? Total hypocrisy. You're not being muted by me. Trump doesn't have a cabinet, he has a junk drawer. Ha! That's nice. Caristocracy is the best way to explain Cash Patel. Thanks, Common Sense. I didn't see that video of hers, but she is definitely worth watching. Do I think F-16s are dominating the skies of Ukraine? Well, they are the only thing flying. The F-16s and the Mirages, along with the Ukrainian MiGs, are the only things flying. Russian aircraft do not enter Ukrainian airspace. But I don't know that I can say that they are dominating the airspace either. Nobody is close to sustainable fusion. That's not a thing. If Putin keeps part of Ukraine, why would Ukraine give up Kursk? Who's GMM? I don't know who GMM is. And it may have been a joke, but stupid Americans believe it. Zelensky is not giving up. The people of Ukraine are not giving up. That's not a thing. I think St. Petersburg would make a lovely Finnish city. Good mythical morning. I don't know what that is. Guys, I'm on TikTok, but I don't actually watch TikTok. I'm just FYI. The only time I do is when I'm waiting for a video to upload, and then I scroll through my friends' videos. And other than that, I really do not watch TikTok, which is a terrible thing to say. Ukraine has about 1 million men. I think the last number I saw was 970,000 active duty. They're working on getting the Gripens here. Oh, Judy's quoting 980,000. Okay, something like that. Thank you, Ty. Oh, yeah. It's full of Russian trolls, all right. Grom, you're not wrong. I mean, I'll tell you, I do all I can to counter Russian propaganda, but it is a tide. It's very hard. Zelensky there's always a choice. Ukraine does not have to give up the temporarily occupied territories. Doesn't have to. I don't know. Russia may be nervous, but you know who's not Putin? According to U.S. intelligence assessments, Putin believes he is winning. I'm sorry, 22 minutes of stable fusion in France? Just this week? Oh, I'll have to take a look at that. That's very interesting to me. I still think we're far away from it. Judy, I think it is much better to join the Patreon. You know, the Patreon gives me a sustainable, ongoing income so that I have some predictability in my life, so that I know that I can stay here. The Patreon takes very little, 8%, to give me a platform on which I publish all kinds of content that only my Patreon subscribers see. I mean, I do a morning news report that only about 17 people in the world ever see. And they get to see it because they make my life here possible. Yeah, TikTok takes 60%. This entire war is about the mineral and fossil fuel resources in Ukraine. This entire war is about that. I cannot believe that we are years away from fusion, not decades. I can't believe that. But I will look for that bit about the 22-minute breakthrough. If that's accurate, that's huge progress, pal. Chaos, I'm with you, pal. If Ukraine can hold for another year, Russia could collapse. You know, CyberDoc, I don't think it's that long. I think it's more August, September timeframe. Looking at the way the sovereign wealth fund is being depleted, at the rate it's being depleted, I think we're talking more about August, September. Why are the heads of state scared of Trump? I would love an answer to that. Could you explain what that means? What means, Mickey? There's no context for that question. Sorry. Yeah, we should all be worried about this situation. It's a bad situation, Finland. Russia themselves cannot do shit without other countries. There are no Soviet countries anymore. I do think Ukraine can win. I would not be here in Kyiv if I didn't. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not saying they don't have a fight ahead of them yet. They do. But I absolutely believe in the victory of Ukraine. I mean, Biden, with his drip, 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 lackluster support, seemed to be saying to the world, look, we don't want Ukraine to lose, but we don't want Russia to collapse. And that is not good enough. The collapse of Russia is inevitable. It's a failed state. The war is accelerating that collapse. But ultimately, it is an inevitable collapse. It will happen. We have to acknowledge that. And rather than hide our heads in the sand about it or try to stabilize the situation from outside, we have to let it go. Let the violence that Russia has brought upon itself be wrought, and then be there to pick up the pieces. And I don't think we can do much more than that. Okay, guys, it's getting on to 1 o'clock in the morning here. The former Soviet bloc already has its own NATO. It's called the Collective Security Treaty Organization. It's Putin's Dollar Tree NATO, and it's bullshit. So much bullshit that 4 countries have already left it. Okay, again, I want to thank Chris Carter, who I did not see here tonight. If you see Chris Carter around, please thank him for me for his ongoing support through his Patreon subscription and his sponsorship of tonight's live. For anybody who wants to sponsor live, the PayPal is in the description. And if you don't have a free Patreon account, I encourage you to follow me on Patreon, please. And if you can't afford to kick me $5 a month like RDG just did, I'm very grateful for that, then please do. Okay. I think that's going to be it for me tonight, guys. Are there any final thoughts from anybody? Thanks, Flip. I'm feeling much better. Thanks, Bernard. Thank you, Shark. Night, Cyberdoc. Night, Eli. Night, Jenny. Night, Chaos. Good night, everybody. Take care. And remember, guys, don't worry about me. I'm here by choice. I chose this. Worry about the Ukrainians, especially those with children and the elderly who did not choose this, who don't have any choice in this. Think about them and worry about them. And if there's anything you can do for them, please do it. Thank you.